Hi, it's Tom from Lone Horizons, and welcome to another one-shot video about a new solo RPG or solo game, solo mystery role-playing game called Caught in the Rain. This game was sent to me by Brandon Lee of Ravensridge, the Ravensridge Emporium. I think he's the same Brandon Lee who created the solo journaling game Cartograph, where you create a map of a world that you can then use for any RPG you want. Anyway, this isn't by him. This is by Nicholas Robinia. And it's been sent to me because they've got a Kickstarter on, which should be on right now. I'm recording this video several weeks in advance, but it will be online when their Kickstarter launches. And so thanks very much for sending that. And I thought, best thing to do at the start of this video is just come clean and let you know that basically I've had this since the start of the year now. I'm recording this at the start of February, and I've started reading it. I wanted to read the whole rule book and then try out a bit of play offline first before doing a kind of actual play session of it to demonstrate it for you. And the thing is, that's what I did last time I did one of these videos, which was marching order. And when I did the actual play, I didn't know it off the top of my head, all the rules and everything. It took me a while, and all I got to do was have one fight in the video because it took up a whole hour. And I thought, instead of trying to do what I did before and rushing through trying to learn the game and then try and play the game as if I know what I'm talking about when I actually don't, I thought, why don't we just do a kind of page by page almost exploration of the rules, kind of questing beast style, because everyone likes that kind of video. And if we get to start playing the actual game in this video, we will. And if we won't, it should still be good enough for you to make a decision on whether you want to back the Kickstarter or not. So what is it? A solo mystery role-playing game by Nicholas Robinia. Let's see. Caught in the Rain is a solo role-playing game of investigative mystery. Whether you are a child searching for their lost brother or a detective searching for a ruthless killer, Caught in the Rain solves the challenge of solo mysteries by keeping the truth hidden. This allows you to uncover satisfying, cohesive, and sometimes unexpected revelations to your mystery narrative. Caught in the Rain is a fully contained game with everything you need to play, including blah, blah, blah. So that actually is quite intriguing as a solo role player. It revolves around having a mystery that you don't know the answer to, which is actually predetermined at the start of the game, like playing Cluedo. For any Americans watching, that's what we call it. In your country, you call it Clue, the board game. And it's also, there's also that really, really wacky, funny 80s film called Clue, based on the game, which if you haven't seen, you've missed out on a lot. It's got Tim Curry. It's got that guy from Spinal Tap. I've forgotten his name. Anyway, it's well worth watching. So, it's worth pointing out, this is version 0.97, so it's not out yet when I'm making this. This isn't the finished version of the game. I assume it will be mostly the same. This is quite a nice layout so far. Here we go. What is this? How do you play? So, we know that it revolves around a mystery, a central mystery that you're trying to solve. You will create an investigator whose purpose is to discover the truth behind a mystery. You'll take on the role of your investigator to describe scenes, ask and answer questions, roll on random tables, and use your investigator to take action in the narrative you weave. As a player, you will find clues in the form of playing cards and will try to guess, by the end of the game, 3 face cards that were set aside at the start to solve the mystery. So that's how the game keeps the solution from you. You pick random cards from a deck at the start, and they represent, components in the mystery, and that contains the answer. So what you need, a standard deck of playing cards. I've got this. I think my wife bought it in some like museum somewhere in England that we went to. I don't know, I can't remember. But it's a really nice deck of cards, and I have to admit, I've never been a card game player in my life. I've never played them. I got really into playing blackjack in one of the Red Dead Redemption games ages ago, and obsessively played that mini game for a few days, which was fun. But I kind of have always thought, in a really ignorant way, card games were only invented because back then they didn't have computer games, and if they had computers back then, they would have skipped cards and just gone straight to computers. That's what I always thought. I'm probably totally ignorant and wrong about that, but I've never really played, poker. It just seems to have so many weird, difficult rules, and all variations of it and stuff. So that was a long-winded way of saying I'm glad that I can finally use this pack of cards for something. Okay, 2 6-sided dice, check. Pencils and paper. I haven't got any paper out at the moment because I thought we could just try and record. If we do get to play the game, maybe we can kind of play it as we go through the book. I hope we can do that. If we do get to play the game, I will record my stuff using the sheet here that I scanned from the back of the book and printed, and just by speaking to you guys as a record of what happens in the game, which is a way of solo journaling that works in other games. This book and the investigator and mystery sheets. Yeah, okay, so that's those 2 sheets. I'm guessing that when the game actually comes out, you'll get them as PDFs online or something. So, what genre? Caught in the Rain is designed to fit any fictional genre, to support you telling different kinds of stories in different genres. Many of the random tables throughout this book come in different genres such as noir, fantasy, sci-fi, and supernatural horror. For an immersive game, stick to one genre or mix and match to your preference. So I wonder if it's got the genres listed in the table of contents. Doesn't look like it. We'll find out later. So, follow the steps below to start a game. 1. Separate the deck of playing cards into 2 decks. The truth deck, which is made up of all of the face cards, and the clue deck, which is made up of the remaining cards and 2 jokers. Okay, let's do that. And I will cut to spare you. Oh, look at that, the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland. That's really nice. I did try reading Alice in Wonderland for the first time a few years ago, and it wasn't actually that good. And maybe it's just because it's a children's book. But it gets referenced so much in popular culture. And it's actually harder to tell which are the face cards and which are the number cards, because all the number cards have a character on them. It gets referenced so much in popular culture. But the actual book is not that good compared to something that gets referenced a lot, like Dracula. I've read that and it's really good, and it feels like the style of the writing feels like it could have been written 10 years ago or something. Okay, maybe I won't cut this bit, as that was some good content right there that you'd miss out on. What have I done? Look, I put a 10 on the face cards pile. Got distracted. Okay, 2 jokers, it said. I think there's another card in here. All right, that can be a joker, I suppose. Right, so I've done that. Shuffle both decks separately and place them face down in your play area. Yeah, this is my play area. Okay. Hang on. I see, because I'm not a gambling man, I can't really shuffle cards that well. Wonder where the British equivalent of Las Vegas would be. my mind instantly thought Birmingham. I don't know why. I've got no idea why. Whoops. Well, I can see which one is that Joker. Packs of cards normally do have 2 Jokers, don't they? So it's weird that this one only has the one Cheshire Cat one. Right. Hopefully you can see them on screen. Yeah, you can. Okay. Right, so draw 3 cards from the truth deck. Wait, which one's the truth deck? That's the face cards, okay. Without looking at them and set them aside face down. Okay, so I'm just going to take the top 3 cards from here without looking. And set them aside. I'm going to put them like that so I definitely remember those are the 3 mystery cards. Okay, create an investigator, page 6. Then generate the initial mystery and create a motivation for the investigator. Then begin play with an investigation scene. I like this. This is really useful, actually, to have something right at the start that's like, if you want to just get started straight away like we do without reading the whole book first, you just do this. This is really nice. It's like when they give you a flow chart in a book for how to play the game, like the procedure of playing, and it's like, do this, then do this. If this happens, go to this bit, and you can print that out on a sheet of paper and just keep it by you the first time you play it. Okay, so investigators. Your investigator can be anything from a grizzled detective to a child in an interstellar world. An investigator is made up of 3 attributes, some keywords and obligations. So attributes are what we're familiar with as RPG players. The larger the number assigned to an attribute, the more capable your investigator is with it. You'll use these to find clues and overcome challenges when you roll dice. Yeah, to do checks and things. So power, strength, speed, and physical resistance. Insight is logical thinking and environmental awareness. Method is your resourcefulness and creativity. That's interesting. So insight is kind of like intelligence and stuff like that. Method sounds like your kind of wisdom in Dungeons and Dragons, maybe, or like how good you are at thinking outside the box, which, as some kind of private detective, that would probably be quite useful, wouldn't it? Signature keyword. Keywords are gained and used throughout play and represent events, items, or critical insights in the narrative. Okay. Keywords can each be used once for a bonus. Your investigator's signature keyword can be used multiple times and could be a valued possession, otherworldly knowledge, or something else entirely. This reminds me a bit of 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, if you've ever played that. A really good solo journaling game. It's so well made that it actually kind of disturbed me a bit while I was playing it, because you play as a vampire and you do things that vampires do, and it's all about trying to keep your humanity and your memories of your old mortal life without succumbing to the demon inside you. So this reminds me a bit of that. So you have keywords, which can be anything, it seems. You can use keywords once to get a bonus and then they're gone, but you do have a signature keyword that you get to keep. So yeah, look, here they are on the sheet. There's the signature keyword and there's the other ones. Okay. Oh, look, we got clocks in this game. That's good. I haven't used one before, I don't think, in any solo game that I've played, so that will be nice if we get to use that. If you don't know what they are, hopefully we're going to find out together later. So an obligation is a commitment your investigator has aside from solving the mystery. It is tied to your most proficient attribute. If neglected, it may hinder the attribute it is tied to and increase the challenge of the mystery. Oh, okay. So I wonder what that, aside from solving the mystery, or maybe it's something like, it might be some kind of moral code that they have. And if you go against it, then that is a negative thing for you, something like that. I guess we'll find out. Follow the steps below to create an investigator. Okay, so oh, great. So really easy to assign the attributes. So one attribute is 2, one attribute is 1, and then one is 0. So that's great. That's really nice. A really nice change from rolling handfuls of d6s 6 times. So who is our investigator first? I'm kind of imagining, let me see, where are the genres? Because if I create the character before we know what genre we are playing in, see, look, that's another nice flowchart thing, how to play. That looks very useful as well. I'm a fan of that. Wow, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff to read, isn't there? Maybe what we can do is just start playing and then read each rule that we need to as we go through it. Example of play, okay. I'm looking for campaigns. You can do so hopefully you can do like a one-shot mystery rather than a campaign as well, and multiplayer as well. That's good. So it's not just a solo game. Look, there's an oracle, yes or no oracle. And you've got some tables in here. And remember, I think I've said this on a couple of videos before, these are all names making up. This is quite useful, making up kind of totally new, brand new, alien sounding names. You can use these in any game, any solo or group RPG that you're playing. So it's like you have this book on your shelf, you can just grab it if you need to make up the name of an elf or something in D&D even. Okay. Look, this is a genre: fantasy, gothic horror, sci-fi, general. Fantasy, gothic. So is it 3 genres: fantasy, gothic, horror, and sci-fi? And then there's the general tables as well. I guess so, but it would be good to have a list somewhere of the genres and a little description of them. But maybe they've made it like this so that it's more generic. Okay. Fantasy, gothic, horror, or sci-fi. Well, I was kind of imagining playing some kind of, washed up private eye in the 1940s in America, in a kind of film noir adventure. So that's what I want to do. So let's just do that and see how we get on with it. So tables, we'll look at the name tables and we'll just go with whatever it is, first name and last name. See, these are like, look at that, last name Deckard, like Rick Deckard from Blade Runner, my favourite film. There's some, it's funny, like Blade Runner is my favourite film, but I've got no desire to play the Blade Runner RPG either in a group or solo. I don't know why. I think it's because from what I've seen of it, it involves a lot of social situations and going around interviewing witnesses to crimes and being a detective and stuff like that. And in an RPG, I kind of prefer looting and killing monsters, whether the monsters are literally monsters or aliens or mercenaries in the future or anything like that. I don't know. It's just not my kind of game. But anyway, you roll a d66 on this table, so you just read the first number and the second number, and that's your result. First name 55, Camille. Is that like a man's name or a woman's name? I want to be a man, just because I just find it easier in solo RPGs where you have one character. I just find it easier to get into. So I'm going to roll again. All right. It wants us to be called Camille, obviously. So it's going to be a man called Camille. It sounds like it could be a kind of European name for a guy. I don't know. And then last name, 51, Vasquez. Okay, so he's a Hispanic guy. Let's see. Yeah, why not? So, Camille Vasquez. Oh, it's like Vasquez from Aliens. She was a great character. All right, we've done the name. That can be the longest part. Oh, and then I've got to do my power, insight, and method. So we're saying Camille Vasquez is a private detective in the 1940s in, say, a generic American city, which is somewhere, I don't know, like somewhere like the Midwest, like somewhere in the middle of America where films are never set, apart from ones like Coen Brothers films, where everyone's a loser. Like, no offense. I feel like Hollywood really just ignores 90% of your country, and everyone in films lives in New York or LA or sometimes Washington DC if it's like political thriller or something. Anyway, so let's see, power, insight, and method. 1, 2, and 3. So insight is the logical thinking, method is the resourcefulness and creativity. I think for power, we're going to have 0. He's going to be an alcoholic, heavy smoker, wearing a trench coat and a hat, who's got like an ex-wife who hates him. Maybe he fought in the war and he's got some kind of trauma from that. But now he's just a washed up private detective who drinks Jack Daniels every night at his desk with one lamp on, full of like fag smoke drifting around in the office. That's great. Okay, perfect. And everything's in black and white. So insight and method. So insight is logical thinking and environmental awareness. Method is resourcefulness and creativity. So I guess insight will be 1 and the method will be 2, because he thinks outside the box, let's say. Okay. So there's the signature keyword. Does it have an example? It has an example of play, doesn't it? So that could be useful, because I'm not really sure what do I give. Oh no, you make an obligation. Oh, and that's got an explanation on page 71. Good. It's not just like you need an obligation. Think it up. Away you go. Go on, do it yourself. Ah, there's a table for it. Okay. So obligation table general. Roll on this table to generate a word with a modern theme. Yeah, that's good. Then you've got fantasy, gothic horror, sci-fi. So those are the genres. Okay. Dracula is a gothic horror. You could do a vampire story with this, where you're like a vampire hunter or something in Victorian England. Go to Whitby in Yorkshire, like they did in the book. Okay, so let's just roll randomly. I like doing this. 56. Remain sane. Oh, okay. So, you know what? I don't want to get all kind of like political or something in this video, but I kind of I have like friends and family who have mental illness, and I find it hard to portray like sanity and insanity in RPGs when I've had to have quite close experiences of it in real life. So I'm going to re-roll that. If you want to, I guess that would be like if I was playing in a group game and someone said, are there any like, I don't know what you call it, those safety, when you have those safety rules that a lot of people get really angry about and think shouldn't be in RPGs, blah, blah, blah. If someone asked, do you want to exclude anything from the game? I think I wouldn't say, mental illness related stuff. I would go along with it. But as this is like me being the GM and the player, I think it would be a bit of hard work for me to do that. So I'm going to re-roll that. Okay, 65. Find peace. That sounds good. Yeah, I like that. So that's his obligation. He needs to find peace. He hates chaos because he was in World War II. Let's say, he was a Marine that jumped out of one of those troop carriers on a French beach and ran up the beach, seeing his buddies get shot down all around him, and then had to fight from town to town in France, really close combat with German soldiers, going from house to house, clearing them and stuff like that, and he's got all that trauma from that. And now the only job he seems to be good at is, tracking down people who've gone missing and finding that they've been killed in horrible ways, dealing with criminals and stuff. And he really wants to get out of it. That will be it. He wants to get out of the life of being a private detective. So this is a commitment your investigator has aside from solving the mystery. It is tied to your most proficient attribute. So that is method. Okay, so he wants to find some way of kind of winning his life and getting out of the horrible situation he's found himself in. And he's going to try and do that in some kind of clever way that is sort of unexpected, but we don't know what that is yet. Okay, so signature key. Oh no, that was obligation. So where is that? Trait, other details, experience. Where's his obligation? It's not listed here. Is this a mistake that it's not on here? It says trait, other details. Do we know anything about traits? Does it mention traits? You've got keywords and you've got obligations, but then hang on. There's an example of play, so let's look it up. Page 31. Example. So Robin is playing Caught in the Rain and created an investigator called Amin, who is an ex-detective. Their signature keyword is smooth talker. Their mystery begins at the shopping centre where a resident has perished. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know what a trait is. I've got a feeling this could be an old version of the investigator sheet that hasn't been updated after they've changed it. Ah, look, trait. Oh, stoic, someone has put. Random trait and any other details. Okay, so maybe there's a table of random traits. So other details, I'll put obligation, unless I'm being dumb. Obligations here. Okay. So, well, he's got one so far. All right, so I'll put find peace under method because it's tied to his method attribute. Okay, we'll do that. Right. So create a signature keyword, page 67. It's quite nice to play this kind of journaling game for a change. This is totally different to anything that I've played on the channel before. D66. 62. Escape. So that is signature keyword. Escape. Keywords can be used once for a bonus. Okay. Your signature keyword can be used multiple times and could be a valued possession, otherworldly knowledge, or something else entirely. Right. So I think, consider the word generated in the context of your mystery. So this is like an oracle where it's like when you use Mythic Game Master Emulator, for example, and it gives you a word and it's up to you to interpret that word. So escape, keyword signature, escape. Let's say he's good at escaping from situations, from like being captured. We'll say that during the war, he was captured in France and became a prisoner of war, but very quickly managed to escape from, say, a convoy of prisoners going through a forest in a load of trucks or something like that. He slipped his bounds, or his binds, what do you say? can't remember, and jumped out the back, crawled into the bushes and hid there, and they didn't notice, we'll say. So he is good at escaping from things. All right. Signature keyword, set the danger to 0. So where's danger? Is that, that's in the mystery, right? So I'll write 0 there. You could, I wonder if you could use a die for that. It's quite nice to have a die as a counter, isn't it? Rather than rubbing things out. I wonder how high the danger level can go. Why don't we, it starts at 0, but it won't stay low for long. Well, let's just write it for now. Create a name and add a trait. Oh, okay. So we add the trait from page 53. It was just listed last. You were probably staring at that and shouting at the screen. It says trait right at the bottom. You total idiot. Here we go. Here's his trait. 36. I always read the green die first when I do D66. Elegant. I'm going to re-roll because I just don't think he's elegant. Based on everything we've just said about him, I really don't think he's elegant. 52. Stoic. There, that's much more, that makes sense. So whatever life throws at him, he's managed to sort of not show it. He's managed to kind of bury it all deep inside and take the punches, roll with the punches, and not let things get to him. And that he's managed to do that so far, but he really, his goal is to find peace. His obligation and goal is to find peace. So he wants to not have to be stoic anymore for much longer. All right. That's great. There we go. So I think that's him created, right? So the mystery. A mystery always begins with an event which also acts as the opening scene. The answer may seem obvious, but new clues can subvert expectations and assumptions. This section will help you create this initial event in the form of a sentence. The mystery begins at the location where an object has treachery. Okay, so there's some kind of treachery. Like that. Use the tables to determine the location, object, and treachery, or insert your own words to fill the gaps. Okay, so have we got, we've got the sentence here. That's good. So to create your mystery sentence, read the sentence out loud, and when you reach one of the placeholder words, blah, 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 roll on the corresponding table. Okay. So the corresponding, okay, so we've got, here are the, these are the tables here. Okay, it's just 6 places. And these sound very specific to the modern setting. Let me see if there are other ones. Tables, location tables, 55. Yeah, so you've got location table, general, fantasy, gothic horror, and sci-fi. Yeah, so the gothic horror has like an asylum, rural farmhouse, private study. Yeah, great. Okay, so general. So the mystery begins at the 61 storage unit. Interesting. Storage unit. Where a object. Yeah, I would rather roll on the expanded tables for this rather than just a D6. 47. Oh, here we go. There's the names. Object table, general. 14, secret document. You probably can't read that at all. Has, and then the treachery. Oh, so we've got loads of treachery. These tables would be really useful to use in another game. So you get, if you buy this, you're not just buying the game, are you? You're buying the tables as well. And remember, on Drivethru RPG and itch.io, there are whole like zines and books that are just tables with no game included, and probably cost the same as this. I don't know how much this actually costs. I'm doing like a sponsored video for it, and I don't even know that. It could be like $200 or something for all I know. And I'm like saying, yeah, this is great. Anyway, keywords. Obligations. Just what do I need? Treachery, don't I? Threat. Oh no! There's no treachery table. There's threat tables. Action descriptor and focus. That's useful. That's like what you get with Mythic GM Emulator. If you meet a character and you say what is their motivation or something, they want to do blah to the blah. Okay, so the treachery then there's only 3 things for treachery. Maybe that's on purpose. Maybe they just couldn't think of that many. Okay. 5. Changed. A secret document has changed. That's weird. What does that mean exactly? We'll figure it out. Okay. So that's done. Motivation. For the mystery, you'll need to consider your investigator's motivation for uncovering the truth. Consider the different aspects of your investigator, such as their obligations, how capable they are, and use those to identify why your investigator cares about this mystery. Make a note of this motivation on the mystery sheet. When considering what your investigator will do next, use the motivation as a guide. So we need to come up with that ourselves. That's interesting. Fill out your investigator's motivation for it. So in the example, they've got motivation. Amin believes an old suspect is behind the mystery. So what could Camille's motivation be? There's a storage unit that houses secret documents, and one of them has been changed, has been maybe doctored in some way. Maybe it's been like redacted. Something has been taken out of it. That's interesting. Maybe his motivation could be that these documents are secret government documents related to the war in some way. And because he fought in the war, that could provide motivation for him. Let me think. Are there any oracle tables at the back that we could use to get inspiration? Actor description and focus tables. Threat table. I don't know. What if we roll on here? Roll on these tables to get 3 words, an action, a descriptor, and a focus. 51. Reveal. 53. Habitual. Reveal, habitual. Something is revealed. Something is habitual. Habits. Reveal habitual, a habit. Could be alcoholism, which he has experience of, being a washed up drunk. Reveal habitual. Motivation. Could it be something related to him being an alcoholic? Him knowing that someone else someone high up in the army was also an alcoholic, and he wants to reveal that fact. Someone covered something up. This is all, I'm getting all of this just from that roll and that table, and that's why oracle tables are so useful for solo role-playing. Let's say there's some kind of military or government official high up in power who did something during the war and covered up a mistake and hid the fact that they were drunk while doing their job, which caused some terrible disaster to happen, including loss of life, maybe for American soldiers or something. And Camille Vasquez wants to reveal this fact to the world. Okay, we're going to say that. Let's think. Well, why don't we use one of the other tables, the yes/no oracle, to ask some questions about this. But how much am I supposed to actually do so far? For now, we're gonna put motivation. So reveal an important official. Oops, I can't spell. Reveal an important official made a mistake, we'll say. And it may be because they were drinking at the time that they were doing something important and messed something important up. Okay, so we got that from our oracle roll. All right. Yeah. Make a note of this motivation. When considering what your investigator will do next, use the motivation as a guide. So it sounds like he knows for a fact that this person did something and maybe what they did, but he can't prove it. And that's what's motivating him. Okay. So we've done everything that it mentions in here, apart from draw a picture. I like the picture in the example here, if you can see that. We will... I can't draw well at all, especially not on demand on camera, but I imagine he would be wearing a kind of hat. See, look, that just looks like someone's bum. Here's a hat, and yeah, he just kind of looks like a sort of washed up old detective with a kind of bony angular face like this. And there's a fag sticking out of his mouth, which he has at all times. I imagine he's one of those people who, one of those smokers who, when you're talking to them, a cigarette just will sort of magically appear in their hand between their fingers, and you don't know where it came from. You didn't witness it being taken out of a pocket or anything. They've just always somehow got one available at all times. Okay. Right, there he is. Right, Camille Vasquez. So, how to play. Caught in the Rain is played as a series of turns. On a turn, you will choose to establish a truth or one of the following scenes to play. Investigate, obligation, or rest. Okay, that's good. A new mystery always starts with an investigate scene. When you choose an investigate scene, your investigator goes to a location to uncover clues. These scenes are always dangerous, risky, and revealing. Each investigate scene starts with an inspect roll and is followed by a series of sequential stages which represent your investigator's progress in finding a clue at the location. Once all required stages are completed in order, the investigate scene ends. Oh, okay. So this is all happening within one investigate scene. How do you play an investigate scene? You begin with the locate stage, unless the inspect roll requires you to begin with the infiltrate stage instead. To move to the next stage in the sequence, your investigator must succeed on an attribute test for an action which makes sense in the fiction. The action might be searching an area to complete the locate stage, cracking open a lockbox to complete the acquire stage, or slipping out the back door to complete the escape stage. Okay. How do I gain the clue? Once the acquire stage is completed, you gain a clue by drawing a card from the clue deck. Finally, using the cards. Ending an investigate scene. Finishing the investigate scene requires you to complete the acquire stage. If a threat is present after completing the acquire stage, you must also complete the escape stage. Oh, it's good. We've got a signature keyword of escape then. to finish the investigate scene. If the fatigue track is filled during the investigate scene here, resolve it, then introduce a threat. If no threat is present, then introduce a threat if no threat is present and skip to the escape stage. Okay, sounds quite complicated to me. But looks like we've got everything detailed here. Okay, so we're basically, what we're doing is going to a location to uncover clues. Okay, and it's going to involve risk. So we're going to start the investigate scene, right? I'm just trying to see if there's any more about the investigate scene. That's the other scene types. Okay, let's just try and play, okay? Or let's look at the example of play. Let's make use of that because it's really useful, I find. It lets you know what they're imagining you're going to do rather than you getting the wrong end of the stick and doing something really weird. Okay, so example, starting an investigate scene. Here we go. In this example, the mystery begins at a shopping centre where a resident has perished. This example of play uses the tables in the back of the book to inspire details about the scene. Okay, so Robin rolls a 2 on their inspect roll. So you do an inspect roll. So they begin the investigate scene in the infiltrate step, which means they must have a mean get to the location where they think a clue could be discovered. Okay, so how do we know? Firstly, how do we do an inspect roll? Do I roll 1 die and add one of my attributes? I don't think it's told us. Let's look at the contents. Oh, here we go. How to play. Investigate scenes 11. Yeah, so that's what I'm on. And then inspect roll and attribute tests. When you start an investigate scene, determine the location your investigator is going, then roll 1d6 and add the danger level to the result. Reference the result on the table below and carry out the effect. How do I use the inspect roll in fiction? Okay. It is quite hard because I'm not used to playing this kind of solo game. So, determine the location your investigator is going. So, am I supposed to just kind of think up that myself? Because I guess he will go to the storage unit. Maybe this investigation starts, the whole mystery starts because he gets an anonymous note slipped under his door, his office door, sometime in the night. When he comes in the morning, hungover and smoking, he finds this note under the door, and it says, go to the storage unit on the corner of 5th and 7th Street, or whatever you Americans call your street names. Storage unit 47. Storage unit 47. I'm just going to make a note of that. Something's been messed with there. Okay. He doesn't know what... You'll find something interesting there, we'll say. He doesn't know what that means. And so he goes there and goes to the storage units. So the inspect roll, is that what we're doing first? Yeah, determine that. Then roll 1d6 and add the danger level to the result. Okay, so he goes there. We'll just kind of try and do this bit by bit. 5 plus 0, because the danger level is 0. Something or someone is in your way. Start with the infiltrate stage and introduce a threat. Okay. Right, so he gets there. He's across the street, and there's something stopping him from just walking in. So start with the infiltrate stage. So that's this one. It's about getting where you need to go. Okay. So danger, fatigue track, consequences, random events, threats, obligation scenes. This is quite... It's not really kind of laid out in a easy to follow way. Where was that example of play? It was 30 something. Okay. So, so Robin begins the investigate scene in the infiltrate step as well. So I wonder what could be standing in the way of Amin in the shopping centre. Maybe there are lots of people and Amin needs to get close before the crowd tampers with the scene. I like this idea. Let's check with the yes or no table. So then Robin asks, is there a crowd in Amin's way? And rolls 2d6 and gets an 11, an extreme yes. She makes the crowd a level 1 threat from the inspect roll. Oh, okay. Then you make an attribute test. Okay, so what could be there? Let's say there's some goons in trench coats and he can see that they've got guns strapped to themselves, in shoulder holsters and things under their coats. He recognises the outline of them. So that is what is in his way of getting to the storage units. And they're kind of guarding the place. I imagine it's outside. There's these sort of garage door style lockers that are locked up. And they're kind of standing around outside. Okay, so then he has to make an attribute test, I suppose, or we could ask that question. I'm not gonna roll for that. I'm just gonna say that's what there is. So that's the inspect roll. In the attribute test, yeah, there are threat. So I think I saw threats listed here. Danger, no, that's the danger level. Consequences, random events, threats. A threat can be anything from a landslide to a person with a gun. Threats are introduced when an attribute test sum is less than danger, or it makes sense in the fiction. If you're choosing to create a threat because it makes sense in the fiction, also gain a keyword. Well, we were told to introduce a threat. We didn't decide that ourselves. How do you make a threat? Each threat is given a level from 1 to 3, depending on how dangerous they are to your investigator. Write this level next to the name which represents the threat. Threats. Right. So we'll put goons. That's what we're calling them. And we're going to say they're just level 1 because they're just men with pistols. And he's killed a lot of enemy soldiers in the war. And he's not scared of them. He knows that he infiltrated French towns and villages and fought house to house. He's got loads of experience of that, and it's not a worry to him. So they're only level 1. Okay, so what do threats do? After every attribute test that was not made against a threat, that threat acts against your investigator. When a threat acts, you roll 1d6 on the consequences table and add the threat's level to the roll, then carry out the effect described on the table. How do you defeat threats? To remove a threat from a scene, you can act against them by performing an attribute test. If successful, make a mark next to the threat's name. If your roll was 10 plus, instead make 2 marks. Once the number of marks next to a threat's name is equal to its level, the threat is removed. Oh, right. So this is quite This is more complicated than I thought it would be. So I suppose we need to deal with the threat so that we can then progress the investigate scene to the next part, which is locate. Okay, so do an attribute test. You choose the attribute based on what they're doing. You then roll 2 6-sided dice and sum their results plus the chosen attribute's number. Okay, so the attribute's number, well, we need to decide what he's going to do. Can he distract them in some way? Can he... I'm trying to think, if he could see the car that they arrived in somewhere nearby, could he do something to the car? It wouldn't have a car alarm that he could set off, would it? Because this is the 1940s. I was thinking that would lure them over to the car away from the storage units. but that's no good. What else could he do? They're men with guns standing around. He needs to cause some kind of distraction. What if there's someone else nearby? What if there's like a gang of kids? There's a gang of kids nearby, and he wants to try and get the kids to go over to the car that looks like the most obvious car that those men came in. So let's say the driver is sitting in there, and he wants the kids to kind of go up to the car and kind of climb on top of it and play around with it. Well, maybe the driver isn't in there; that it's on its own, and they're going to come over. The men are going to come over and be like, "Hey, get away from there, you pesky kids!" And that will buy him some time. So, can he use method for that? His kind of out of the box thinking. I think he can, because that's quite a weird thing to do, right? So I'm going to say he can do that. It's not power, because it's not to do with like fighting or anything. Insight is like logical thinking. And then method is the kind of thinking outside the box. So I think that's it. All right. So to do that, you roll 2 6-sided dice and add their results plus the chosen attribute's number. So that is 7, 8, 9. 7 to 9. Success at a cost. Okay. So it's like a weak hit and a strong hit system, like in Ironsworn. You've got failure, success at a cost, or success. Okay, so your investigator succeeds, but there is a complication. How do they respond? Suffer consequences. What does that mean? So they succeed with a complication. Consequences. When your investigator suffers... See, I think that was in red. Suffer consequences was in red, and that made me think it must be a rule in the book that you can follow. Yeah, so something has gone wrong. You must roll 1d6 on the table below and carry out the effect. Threats may increase your result. Okay. Consider how this might look in the fiction and use it to describe how the scene changes. Threats may increase your result. What does that mean? Does it mean I add 1 for the goons because they're a threat? Oh, no, it's talking about that here. Okay, so I just roll a d6. 4. Discard a card from the clue deck. Okay, so we're going to lose access. We're going to lose the opportunity to get a clue. So which one was the clue deck? That's the remaining cards. Okay, so we'll throw that away. I'll put it back in the box. So there's that many possible clues are there. That's a lot. So that's gone. All right. How will this look in the fiction? Discard a card from the clue deck. So you could get fatigue. You could have to stop investigating. You could increase a present threat, like the goons get more dangerous. But we have just lost out on a clue. I don't know what that looks like. I would say, why don't we say the kids agree to do what he asks, but they're not sure at first and they mess around a bit and they don't go straight over to the car. They just carry on playing for a bit and then they do it. So time passes and possibly he misses an opportunity to find a clue because time has gone by. We don't know exactly what happened, but he's lost time. Okay, so we've done that and we've succeeded. So the goons go off chasing after the kids down the street to where the car is. They're like, hey, come back here. Come back here. I'll beat your ass. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what they would have said in the 1940s. They're like, come back here, you lousy bums. So then he gets to go into the kind of the yard of the storage unit's place. Okay, so now he's done that. That's the infiltrate stage done. Now he's on the locate stage, when your investigator learns where to find clues at the location. Okay, so hopefully there's a section on that. Let's look at the example again. Suffering a consequence. Yeah, so that happens to her. Then blah, blah, blah. Using a keyword, rolling under danger and creating a threat, gaining a keyword. We just want to know about like finding a clue. Drawing a joker. Robin draws a card from the clue deck because they finished the acquire stage. Hang on, we haven't got to the acquire stage yet. It's quite weird, this game. I haven't really played. I talked about 1,000-Year-Old Vampire before, but that was a lot simpler than this, to be honest. Oh, they got to the acquire stage. What about locate? How do I gain the clue? Once the acquire stage is completed, you gain a clue. Okay, so investigate scene. So you do the attribute test. We did. This action might be searching an area to complete the locate stage, cracking open a lockbox to complete the acquire stage, or slipping out the back door to complete the escape stage. Okay, well, I don't know how I get out of the, like what I do on the locate stage, which I've just reached. So, when the two dice in an attribute roll show the same number, a random event occurs in addition to whatever else is happening in the fiction. That's interesting. Threats we've dealt with, obligation scenes and rest scenes. See, it doesn't really. I need a proper flow chart that shows me exactly what I do on each stage. So I did my. Let's see. I think we got this, didn't we, on the inspect roll? Something or someone is in your way. Start with the infiltrate stage and introduce a threat. So we were at the infiltrate stage, and that is where we did an attribute test to get rid of the threat of the goons, which we did. So then that makes me think I need to go on to the locate stage. When your investigator learns where to find clues at the location, maybe we just have to do another attribute test. Then you do the acquire stage where you get the clue, then you escape. Okay. So to move to the next stage in the sequence, yeah, I see. So it's just kind of telling you generically here, whatever stage you're on, you need to do an attribute test for each stage. So yeah, okay. Right, I think I've figured it out. As I said, this is kind of like page by page, going through, learning, trying to learn how to play the game and seeing if we like it, you seeing if you like it and if you might want to back the Kickstarter or not. So that long rambling section of the video was just me figuring it out. And now I think we've got it. So each of these stages, you pass an attribute test. Okay. So now that we're on the locate stage, we have to find out what we're looking for and where it is. So we're looking for a secret document that was changed. And that note that we got from an anonymous person said storage unit 47. So let's say Vasquez walks down through the yard, past all these garage doors, watching the numbers go by, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and eventually he gets to unit 47. And I suppose he needs to like pick the lock or something to be able to get in there. Can that be the locate stage? We've already done the infiltrate stage, actually. So the locate, let's say it's open because the goons have been messing around in there anyway. So it's cracked open. He pulls up the garage door and the shutter rolls up. And he goes in and there's boxes and boxes of files in there, dusty cardboard boxes, and they're marked things like top secret, eyes only, black clearance level and above, things like that. And they're all typed out, and loads of them are redacted. Loads of them have like black marker scrubbing over the text. Okay, so what is he looking for? He needs to locate the clue. So let's look at the example again and see what happens. Example, making an attribute test. So they got through the crowd, which was the threat in the way. They forced their way through the crowd. They suffered a consequence for it. Then, using the action and focus tables, the crowd seems to be getting pretty riled up. The crowd becomes a level 2 threat. We're in the locate stage, so we need to find the body. I wonder why Amin wouldn't be able to immediately see it. I'll use the action and focus tables for an idea. So they get guard love on the oracle table. Maybe the resident's partner is trying to protect the body from onlookers. I could use a keyword here. Robin crosses off Amin's signature keyword, smooth talker, to eliminate a threat. Oh, so that lets you kind of get rid of a threat without having to roll for it. Okay. So, attention everyone, I'm a detective and have been called in to investigate the scene. Please step back. Robin removes the crowd threat from the scene, being a smooth talker without having to roll on an attribute test, then succeeds at a cost on an insight attribute test to calm down the resident's partner. Okay. So yeah, you do these attribute tests. Okay, so I guess he needs to use his insight, his logical thinking, to think, okay, something has been messed with here, according to that note that I got. So I need to go through and see which box might have been messed with. I'm going to investigate these boxes and look at each one. Let's say they're those sort of document boxes, cardboard boxes, where whenever someone in a film gets fired and they have to clear their desk, they always put everything into one of those cardboard boxes that are about that big, right, and carry it out and do a kind of walk of shame. It's that kind of box. I don't know what they're called. So he goes through looking at all of them, and we're gonna do an insight check for that. Now, how do you do that again? Attribute tests. Okay, so you do 2d6 plus 1 for insight, because his keyword is escape, which isn't appropriate here. So 10. 10 plus is success. Your investigator succeeds. Great. What do they do next? Find a clue. Good. Okay, so let's say he looks through all the boxes. They're all covered in dust, like they've been there for years, since the war. And there's one that has fingerprints in the dust on it, on the lid, as if it's been opened. And it looks like it's the box has been pulled across the shelf and then pushed back again as they pulled it out towards them, opened it, and got stuff out or something. So we find a clue. Good. We're getting somewhere now. So how do you gain the clue? Draw a card from the clue deck. See page 25. Let's just do this. And then I'm going to give my thoughts so far on the game. A mystery would just be a frustration without its clues. An investigator needs clues to solve the mystery. Any card value from ace to 10 is a clue. Oh. So were the aces not face cards then? That's interesting. Okay. So should the aces be in this deck rather than this deck? If so, I might need to kind of reshuffle them and take the 3 face cards out again, because I may have messed it up, and it means if we get to the end it won't work. Okay, let me just see. Yeah, the truth deck is made up of all of the face cards, Jack, Queen, and King. Okay, so that means let's put this one back. I think that's what I did. I think I included aces here. Yeah, I did, so that's wrong. All right, so I'm putting that card back. I'm putting these see, look, one of the clues, one of the result, like the solution to the mystery, one of the components of it was an ace from the ones we picked. And if I use the rules, that won't work because that's not a face card. Okay, see, this is how well I know card games. I think of aces as face cards. Right, so those are in there. Let's just make sure they're properly shuffled into the rest of the deck. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess I should put a note on screen at that point near the start where I included the aces in the face cards, and that's wrong. Otherwise, people will comment. People get to that point in the video and leave a comment saying, you did it wrong. You included them as face cards when they're not supposed to be. And then they'll turn off the video in disgust, and they won't know that I corrected the error later on. All right, so we've lost one clue. So we're going to take that out of the clue deck, put it in there, and then we take 3 face cards, which are the solution to the mystery, and we put them to one side. At least we were able to do that without messing up the game. Okay, so I think I just draw a card, right? Draw the top card from the clue deck, and then you either establish or strengthen a clue. How do you establish a clue? The first time you draw a card value, ace to 10, you've discovered a new clue. Place it face up in your play area and note what the clue is in the context of the mystery. This begins the clue set for the value of the card. Okay, so that's a 10. 10 of clubs. How do you strengthen a clue? Anytime you draw a card value which already has a set in your play area, so if we drew the 10 of diamonds next, you may add that card to the set. This makes the set more powerful when you establish it as a truth. Take this opportunity to add more details to a clue. Okay, so we have established clue 10. Advice for clues. Clues help you describe the mystery, and they can be written as single words or short phrases, much like keywords, or they can be written as more complete sentences from the perspective of your investigator. So here is where, look, the list of clues here have the numbers from ace to 10. Okay. So how do I create a clue? Use the random tables in the book for inspiration, then use the words generated to contextualize the clue in your fiction. Okay. Consider how the different people, the environment, and existing clues theme this new clue. For example, you might use the action descriptor and focus tables and get the words hide significant life. This could mean someone important was taken and is hidden in the getaway vehicle mentioned in an existing clue. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I can do that. So we'll use the tables. We will use the action descriptor and focus tables. Here we go, action descriptor, and then focus is over the page. I didn't realize there was that third table when I did this before. So this clue, we'll find out what it is. 64. Focus. 66. Sleepy. That's not a random event because we're not doing an attribute roll. If I rolled a double on an attribute roll, it would add a random event. So focus, sleepy, this is weird. 63. Focus, sleepy, doubt. Now what could that mean? Let's think. Focus, sleepy, doubt. There's some document in the files here which has been changed. And the document has something to do with the words focus, sleepy, doubt. This is a good thing about these tables, oracle tables, is often something will just pop into your head straight away that's like an association, And the first thing I'm thinking of is that thing, the Russian sleep experiment, where I think, I'm not sure how true it is, but there's loads of YouTube videos about it on those like unexplained mysteries channels, where I think during the Cold War or something, the Russians did weird experiments where they made people stay awake for days and days and days with no sleep, and then something weird happened to the people, like they all went mad or something. I can't remember what it is because I've never really investigated it much, but that's what the word sleepy makes me think of. Focus, sleepy, doubt. So possibly there was some kind of wartime government experiment done related to sleep, human sleep patterns or something like that. It was focused on that, and doubt. Someone is doubting something may not have happened. There was something to do with the results of the experiment. Let's say, why don't we say the results were inconclusive, but we need to bring this back to what the clue actually is. I think it's a document, right? Here, the example is the culprits used a green van to escape the scene. Okay, that's a lot more down to earth than my one. So the clue is a document about a government experiment, psychological experiment to do with sleep. So we will just write psychological sleep experiment document. But what is it? What is the clue about that? That's the object that it is. But maybe we say it because it's been changed in some way according to the note that he got. It's been redacted. But then what would be the mystery there? Why would he care? We'll say government experiment document. What has been changed about it? This is really difficult actually. It forces you to be creative in a way that dungeon crawling doesn't. Government experiment document. Doubt, focus, sleepy, doubt. Why don't we say it's been redacted and changed and edited, this document, to say there were inconclusive results. But we can tell from looking at the document there was something written underneath that's been blacked out with marker, and it's like been covered up to try and say that nothing happened with this sleep experiment. Everything, they cancelled it. Nothing interesting happened. All the subjects just were released normal. They were all normal. Nothing bad happened to them. Something like that. So I'll put changed. Okay, so that's what that is. That is that clue. Okay. So that was quite difficult. Tough gameplay. Okay. So that's what we've done so far. We've got up to which stage of the scene have we got up to? Locate, acquire. That was acquire, where your investigator gains the clues. Then escape stage is when your investigator flees the location. So luckily our signature keyword is escape, which means I think we can avoid doing an attribute test by escaping. So let's say the goons are coming back now. They're walking back towards storage unit 47. He can see them coming down through the yard, and he slips out of the back of the yard, jumps over the fence quite easily, and like runs down a back street before they're able to see him, and we are using our signature keyword, which we don't have to cross off because we can keep it because it's our signature one, to avoid doing an attribute roll. Okay, so he's seen that document. I guess he's taken it with him, hasn't he? He's got it. He's got the document on him. And now he's escaped, and that's the end of the investigate scene. Yeah, so far my thoughts are this is quite a long-winded way of doing an investigation in an RPG. And I suppose that's because that is the whole game. There's no other gameplay in this. There isn't combat and things unless you do a power attribute test where you have a fight with someone. So that is the game, which is fair enough, really, but it's more complicated than I was expecting. I think because I've played 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, as I mentioned, and I've also played The Wretched, which is a really good game. I think it's Chris Bissett who made The Wretched. Let me check. Here it is, printed at home. Let me see. Yes, Chris Bissett. Yeah, so this game is really good. There is a playthrough of it on my blog, which is linked in this video's description. And this uses a Jenga tower and a deck of playing cards. And this uses cards like where the different, what do you call them, suits, represent different types of things in the world of the game. And I won't go into loads of detail about that now because it's a different game. But it reminds me of that. And that is a lot simpler than this, as is 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. So it is quite complex. And I suppose with solo RPGs, complexity doesn't always matter that much because you can just spend a whole evening playing one. And if you only do one investigate scene in that evening, it doesn't matter because who cares how long it's going to take you to do the whole campaign. It doesn't matter. Like you're not fitting it in to your weekly gaming schedule with your group of RPG friends, and you want to get through it so you can get back to playing your main, 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons game or whatever you play regularly. So. Yeah, I guess it's not that much of a negative thing that it's quite long-winded. Okay, so ending an investigate scene. Finishing the scene requires you to complete the acquire stage, which we did. If a threat is present after completing the acquire stage, you must also complete the escape stage. Oh, okay, so there was no threat to escape from, actually. So the goons didn't come back. So that's fine. Okay. Yeah, no fatigue track was filled. All right, that's fine. So then what do you do after an investigate scene? Do you choose which type of scene to do? Or are you just told? Let's see. Obligation scenes. When you choose to tend to an obligation, your investigator carries out an activity that involves another part of their life. These scenes are used to explore your investigator as a person. Oh, like the obligation, motivation? No, your find peace obligation. Yeah. So these scenes are used to explore your investigator as a person while trying to keep their life from falling apart. No attribute tests are rolled during these scenes. How do you play it? So are we supposed to do one for sure, or is it a choice that we get? Let's go to the example again. I'm really glad they put this gameplay example. Playing an obligation scene. Okay, I know that the 3 truth cards that were set aside don't contain a Jack of Spades or Queen of Hearts. What did they do that revealed that to them? We don't know. Okay. One step closer to solving this mystery. Before the next investigation, let's tend to a means obligation before the day is up. It seems like it's optional, but maybe you can get something out of it which will help you if you do it. That would be my guess. So Robin decided that a means obligation tied to their power is going for runs around the lake near their home. Robin uses the action and focus tables to inspire a random event and gets trick life. Is that what you do in an obligation scene? How do you play it? Choose one of your obligations, then create a random event centered around the obligation. Answer the following question. How does your investigator care for this obligation? Afterwards, what does that mean? How do they care for it? Afterwards, discard a card from the clue deck and make a mark next to the obligation. It makes it sound like we're supposed to have more than one obligation, right? Shall I check? The values of your investigator's attributes go in the diamonds. Under each attribute is a space for the obligations. An obligation, blah, blah, blah. Create an obligation and write it under your highest attribute. No, we weren't supposed to make more. Okay. So, yeah. So in the example, so they do a random event and gets trick life. Maybe there's some kind of life coach that tries jogging alongside Amin. The life coach seems more focused on chatting, but Amin just wants to be alone, so they decide to jog faster and leave the other person behind. Robin ends the scene and makes a mark next to the obligation to indicate that it has been tended to. Oh, there, like that, okay. Robin also marks the second segment on the clock. Oh, why do we have to do that? And discards a clue card from the clue deck. Luckily, it was just another 7. So it seems like an obligation scene removes a clue from the deck to kind of represent the fact that you're not actively investigating the mystery at the moment, but you have to do it because you have your life outside the mystery. Okay, right. Marking a segment on the clock. A day in Caught in the Rain is broken up into 4 turns. Every scene takes 1 turn. Okay. These turns are represented by the clock on a piece of paper, which is a circle with a vertical and horizontal line. Yep. Each segment is a turn. So this is 1 day then. Okay, when do you mark the clock? Whenever an investigate, obligation, or rest scene finishes, you must mark one of the segments in the clock to represent the time it took to play that scene. Okay, so we've done an investigate scene, so that's like a quarter of the day is done. Right, so we are going to do an obligation scene. What are rest scenes, though? When you choose to rest, your investigator finds a place to unwind. This could be sleeping, spending time with friends, or anything else. How do you play it? Roll a d6 and unmark that many boxes from the fatigue track. So fatigue is like stress, which you gain during your investigation, and then you can remove it by resting. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So we don't need to rest because we don't have any fatigue yet. So we will play an obligation scene. So we'll turn to the oracle at the back. Action, descriptor, and focus. That's it, right? What did they use in the example? Robin uses the action and focus tables. Okay, so... Well, let's use all 3 tables. Here we go. What is going to happen? And the obligation is to find peace. So what if he's going to some kind of group, like a bit like Alcoholics Anonymous, but not that, because he's still an alcoholic and he's not dealing with it. He's going to some kind of group for soldiers, veterans from World War II, who are trying to just get through each day, and so they go there and they talk about how things are going. If they occasionally want to, they talk about their experiences in the war, but I imagine they don't really want to, especially as they're like 1940s men who have been brought up to, be very stoic, like we got for him. So it's like a place where he goes to a church or something and sits in a circle of chairs. So you're going to that. And now what is the random event that is going to happen there? And what do we do with how do we play it? How does your investigator care for this obligation? Then you discard the card from the clue deck and make a mark next to the obligation. Okay, so something is going to happen and he's going to have to do something, and then we lose a clue, but we tick off that we solved the problem. So 63, disguise. 36, expensive. 61, fight. Disguise, expensive, fight. Okay, what could happen? So disguise makes me think kind of like hide something from other people in this group chatting situation. Expensive, fight. So fight can be like a kind of conflict with someone. Expensive could just mean costly in terms of like an emotional cost, some kind of personal cost. It doesn't have to be money. Disguise, expensive, fight. So during the group therapy session that he's at, he tries to hide something from someone else. His obligation is to find peace. And what does this mean? He tries to hide maybe someone else tries to hide something from the group. And it leads to conflict, which causes some costly damage, emotional damage to him, and he has to deal with it somehow. All right, so let's say there's another veteran there, another army veteran, and he's like talking about his experiences. This is really difficult. This is like really forcing me to think on my feet, because if I was just playing this on my own, I might like go for a walk or make a cup of tea and think about this problem while drinking the tea. You can do anything like that. That's what's good about solo play. It doesn't matter how long it takes. But as I'm on video, I've got to think something up quickly. So this other guy, we'll call him Gary, because that's the first name that popped into my head. Gary is trying to hide something from everyone else. And Vasquez tries to draw this out of him. And then he's like, no, Vasquez, you never give anything away about your experiences. Why should I be the one this week bearing my soul, spilling my guts to everyone when you haven't even done it yourself? Let's say that. And so then Vasquez is like, look, all right, fine. I'll tell you something that happened to me back in the war. And he goes on to detail, let's say, some traumatic event. So when he was clearing houses, village by village, house by house in rural France, let's say he heard movement in he was in just an empty house where the residents had fled because the American soldiers were advancing on their village, and there were Nazis coming to it as well to set up defenses. So all the residents managed to flee, and he hears movement in this house behind what looks like a thin wall in this hundreds of years old French house. And he fires his rifle. I can't remember all the names of the rifles. It's been a while since I've seen like Saving Private Ryan or played a Call of Duty game set in World War II. But he fires his rifle several times at the wall, and he hears something slump to the ground. He goes around the corner and he finds that it was a dog. It was just a family pet, not a German soldier. And it destroys him. And he sits down and cries. And he says, I think about that dog every time I close my eyes. For some reason, I saw dead people. I saw dead civilians in the war. And I saw my buddies get killed as well. But for some reason, seeing that dog in front of me and I had just killed it, I can't get over it. And Gary's like, wow, that's really deep. And that is how he deals. That is how he gets a bit closer to finding peace, because he has never told that story to anyone, and no one even knew about it because he was on his own in the house when it happened. So we've ticked off finding peace, and we remove a clue from the deck, from the clue deck. So I think that just represents the fact that we spent time away from the investigation, and then we fill in a quarter of the clock like that. But we've still got half the day left. So I imagine that was sort of like afternoon he did that. In the morning he went to the storage units. In the afternoon he went to his weekly session of the therapy group, and now it's going to be evening. Okay, so that was an obligation scene. So then should we just go on to a new investigate scene, maybe? I think what we'll do, right, is we'll do one more investigate scene, and then we'll probably call it a day for this video, because I wasn't sure if I would be able to kind of finish a game or not, because I hadn't read the rule book. So I think we'll do another investigate scene to gain another clue, and maybe learn something more about this government experiment that has been covered up. So I'm just going to check the play example to make sure that there isn't something else I'm supposed to do before doing a new investigate scene. Establishing a truth. What is that? The truth deck. I'm going to look that up actually, because that's a bit... Yeah, the way it's laid out is a bit confusing. Like you have to jump back and forth. So what was establishing a truth? Is that truths 28? So you got clues, jokers, and truths. We should read that, I suppose. And the end, and how you actually finish it. So we haven't talked about the art, actually. That's interesting. We saw another, like at the back, there's this. That's quite nice. I really like that style of... that looks a bit like Rorschach from Watchmen, and the way he's drawn in that. I think I've thought that because of the shadow on his face there. But yeah, I like this art style. Who is the artist? Let's see. Cover artist is Emery Kelsberg. Internal artist is Elise Meriot. Really nice work. Yeah. Okay. So I was going to look up, after clues, you have got jokers. The jokers are used to add more twists and turns to your mystery. Once used, they are removed from the game, so they can only impact you twice. Okay, because there's two jokers. So whenever a joker card is drawn from the clue deck, even when instructed to discard a card, choose a clue set which has not been established as a truth, so that would be our clue number 10, and make it a false lead, then remove the joker. So mechanically, a clue set that becomes a false lead has all cards in the set discarded, which means it cannot be established as a truth. Okay, any future cards drawn from the clue deck that share a value with a false lead are immediately discarded. Do not draw a replacement card. Okay, in the fiction, a false lead means that the clue was too circumstantial, interpreted incorrectly, or otherwise is unrelated to the mystery. Consider how your investigator discovers the false lead. Right. Okay. If there are no clue sets yet, you instead double the danger level. Right. So truths. Clues are just circumstantial ideas of what the answer might be, but when they become truths, your investigator takes a step closer towards solving the mystery. The truth of the mystery is represented by the 3 face cards you set aside at the start of the game. So those are the actual truth behind the mystery, right? Okay, so establishing truths. The truth deck is made up of the face cards that were not set aside at the start of the game, these ones. Your goal is to correctly guess those cards that were set aside. To do this, you can establish your clue set as truths. Right, how do you establish a truth? As a turn, okay, so uses up one of these turns, you may establish a truth by rotating a clue set 90 degrees I'm marking a segment on the clock. When you do this, draw and look at a number of cards from the truth deck equal to the number of cards in the clue set, so it would only be 1. Remove these truth cards from the game and gain a keyword. You now know a little bit more about what truth cards were set aside at the start and are now one step closer to solving the mystery. Wow, how does someone design a game like this? This is mad. Like, this is so complicated. I don't mean like it's too complicated to play and that's a bad thing. I just mean like my brain isn't a game designer's brain, I suppose. I just can't imagine where you would even begin with thinking like, I want to make a mystery game where you investigate a mystery and the truth is established at the start and it's hidden from the player, and you don't know it, even though you're creating all the whole story. Like, and then how are you going to go about that using cards and dice rolls? I just can't. It's like rocket science to me. Okay, so more clue cards of an established truth. If you draw a clue card that matches an established truth value, discard the card and draw a replacement card. Okay, so I think that's what you do when you get a stack of 10s. Like if I had 2 10s or 3 10s, then I could be like, all right, that is going to be a truth because we're getting closer, we're getting more and more information about this government experiment that was changed. There has to be something to it. So then we're going to establish it as a truth. So that is part of the mystery. And then you do that then. But as that's the only clue that we've got, I think we're not going to go for that right now. Let's just read this bit as well. Caught in the rain can end when either you choose to solve the mystery at the end or the start of a scene. There are no more cards in the clue deck at the end of a scene, or you roll 10 plus on the consequences table. When the game ends, you must attempt to solve the mystery. When you solve the mystery, you'll write down your guess for each truth card set aside at the start of the game. You must guess the suit and the value of each of these truth cards. Right, so the more truth cards you've revealed, the more chance you know which ones are the 3 ones in there, I suppose. It's like Cluedo then, or Clue, because that's how that works, isn't it? Right, maybe that was what inspired them originally. Maybe that was their starting point, the rules of Cluedo, could be. Okay, so after this, reveal the truth card set aside at the start of the game. Narrate the outcome of the mystery using the questions below for guidance. For each truth card that was incorrect, add a twist or complication to the outcome. Then list at least one question you still have about the mystery. So like, why was the object the target? So the secret document, I suppose. Who was the person that instigated the mystery and why did they do it? How were others and your investigator affected by the resolution of the mystery? Interesting. Okay, so let's play one more investigate scene, which will be in the evening of the first day. So, where is that? No. We want to find that page again. Yeah, here we go, investigate scenes. So your investigator goes to a location to uncover clues. But what are we going to do? There must have been something in the document, right, that leads him on to go to a new investigation. So what could that be? I suppose we could... we could roll on the location table, actually, couldn't we? Just do that. Let's find the location table. Here we go, location table. And then we'll work backwards and figure out why he was led to that location. 62. A pier. That's interesting. What would be going on at a pier? It could be something to do with the Navy and boats. Maybe this wartime government experiment involved the Navy and boats and ships and things. So Yeah, all right. So he's going to go to this certain pier. Let's say it's like it's just down at the docks of the city. Okay, so what is he gonna? But let me see. What is he gonna do there? How do we figure out what he's gonna do? So each investigate scene starts with an inspect roll. An inspect roll. Determine the location your investigator is going. Then, then roll 1d6 and add the danger level to the result. We still haven't added any danger level, have we? 1. Everything is quiet. You make your way in. Start with the locate stage. Okay, so the inspect roll is the perfect opportunity to consider what is currently going on at the location. Describe the location to yourself, ask questions about the location, and use the random tables at the back of the book to help answer them. If the inspect roll requires you to introduce a threat, consider what they're currently doing at the location. So everything's quiet. You make your way in. What are we infiltrating here? Let's find the yes/no oracle. Here it is. 1d6 result, yes or no table. So you roll 1d6, you ask a question and roll 1d6. So is it a building at the pier? Is it a building that's on the pier, we will ask. 3. Oh, hang on, this goes up to 12. Rolling 1d6. Okay, I think that's a typo. I think it means 2d6, right? Because, no, 1d6. It says 1d6 result there as well, but it goes all the way up to 12. All right, it has to be 2d6 though, so I'll roll the other one. So 9. Is it a building on the pier? Yes, just normal yes. Okay, so there's a building, maybe it's some kind of building where they repair, I don't know what you call it, but like where they would repair boats, where boats can like sail in there, and you can go down some steps, get to the boat and fix it if you need to. And there's like an office there, and it's like a kind of garage repair shop type place for boats, but there's an office there as well. Am I going to end up just searching more filing cabinets or something in the office? Is it just always going to be that because I'm not imaginative enough? I don't know. So let's see. So start with the locate stage. So locate stage is when your investigator learns where to find clues at the location. Okay, so so I need to do an attribute test for an action that makes sense in the fiction. This action might be searching an area to complete the locate stage, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so when your investigator learns where to find clues at the location. There is a clues table that we can roll on, isn't there? Clue table. When you gain a clue, roll on this table to generate a word. Okay, so first we need to do an attribute roll for the locate stage. Learns where to find clues at the location. But to do my attribute roll, I need to know what I'm actually doing, don't I? So I'm searching this building and looking for anything out of the ordinary, I suppose. Let's just use insight because he's logically searching, looking around. So we will do an attribute roll. Can't remember where the table is. Attribute tests, here we go. So we're going to add 1 to this. What action is he attempting? Yeah, just searching the whole building logically. So 9, success at a cost. Your investigator succeeds, but there is a complication. How do they respond? Suffer consequences. Okay. So where's the suffering consequences bit? Consequences. Something has gone wrong. You must roll 1d6 on the table below and carry out the effect. Threats may increase your result. Consider how this might look in the fiction. And again, it says 1d6, 9 plus. Well, is it? Do they keep making typos? Or are you supposed to be adding something to this result? You must roll 1d6. Oh, threats may increase your result. Yeah, so you add the threat level of something that's here, but we don't have a threat here yet. Okay, so we just roll a d6 to suffer consequences. 6, mark 1 fatigue. Okay, so I think because he's kind of climbing in and out of boats that are in here, he gets a fatigue point because it's the evening and he's out of shape, he's drunk, and he's a smoker. And so he's climbing in and out of these boats, going up and down ladders and stairs and things like that. And he gets tired. So he gains a clue, right? And what is it going to be? This is where we'll roll on the clue table, I think. I hope I'm doing this right. I mean, it feels right. 31. A false alibi. That doesn't make sense to me in this situation, so I'm going to re-roll it. In any solo game, just re-roll if nothing pops out at you when you get an Oracle table result. 16. Recurring symbol. Ah, that's interesting. Let's say the document about the government experiment had a symbol on it. And this symbol he has found somewhere in the building that he's in now. Okay, that's good. The acquire. Oh yeah, you have to do the acquire stage to gain the clue. We did our attribute roll was for the locate stage. Okay. So I think I've sort of skipped ahead to the acquire stage. But because I liked that Oracle result, recurring symbol, I think we're gonna just roll with it. So you gain the clues at the acquire stage, and so you do need to do an attribute roll for that before actually getting the clue card. Okay, so 25. Oh, that's when you pick the clue out. Okay, so we're going to need to do an attribute roll. What is this? Oh, maybe we could use the oracles. Okay, so we've got this recurring symbol. Firstly, where is it? Is it like inside something? This is really confusing. Where could this symbol be? He's found it, but he hasn't acquired it yet. He's trying to acquire it, right? Hang on, I need the oracles. Here we go. He's trying to acquire it. What can he do to acquire this? What is the symbol on? Is it printed on something? I'm trying to think out loud here, but I'm really not having much luck. So I'm just sort of floundering around. Let's think. Action, descriptor, focus. Let's roll on the descriptor table for it and see what happens. 61. Aquatic. Oh, wow, that's funny because we're in this. There's water here. We're in this building where they repair boats. Boats sail in and out. So there's water in there, and the clue is something down in the water. What if it's something under the water? Let's say like he can see something under there, right? He looks down into the water and it's the evening. He's shining a torch down there and he sees something like floating halfway down to the seabed, as if it's like tied by a rope to the bottom of the sea underneath the building, like it's been hidden there. And he can't really make out what it is, but he can see this symbol on it. And what he needs to do is to get to it, he needs to dive into the water and go down there. And let's say he has a little flick knife that he carries around with him that people in 1940s films, when they have knife fights, they'll be like, and have one of those flick knives that flicks out. He's got one of them. So he thinks, I could go down there and cut the rope that's holding it. I'm assuming it's a rope. And get it out of the water, maybe. Because he can see maybe it's like a wooden box or something like that with this symbol printed on it, but he's not sure yet. So that to me says we need to do a power attribute roll and see what happens. So let's check the table again for attribute rolls. Attribute tests, here we go. So we're just going to roll 2 dice and add 0. 6. Failure. Your investigator does not succeed because something prevents them from doing so. What is it? Gain a keyword and suffer consequences. Okay, so suffer consequences. Where was that again? We'll look at the keyword in a minute. Consequences, okay. So 1d6 result. Threats may increase your result. There's no threat here, is there? Because the goons are gone. 5. Mark another fatigue. Oh, that makes sense, yeah. So he swims down there, but he's not good at swimming. He goes down there, he tries to cut through the rope, and he can't manage to do it. And then he comes up again, and something has to happen, right? He gets a keyword because like something he's failed, but this is like when you try and pick a lock or something as a thief in a dungeon crawler. You can't just keep re-rolling over and over again, can you? Maybe you can, and you do wandering monster checks or something like that. But I imagine what's happened is something is actually happening to stop him from just trying it over and over again all night. So he's got tired. What could happen? We can, the keyword, we could roll for the keyword and see what it says. They could represent events, items, or critical insights into the mystery and are spent to use a keyword action. When you gain a keyword, create a word or phrase that ties into it. This is your new keyword. Okay. So we'll look at the keywords table for general. And this will kind of guide us towards what happens. 55. Conspiracy. So keywords. Conspiracy. So let's say, what if while he's down there, he comes up for air, unable to reach the object with the symbol on it, and unable to make out the symbol because we didn't gain the clue. We failed the acquire stage, right? But we couldn't really because we failed, we can't get an idea of what the symbol actually looks like because we're not gaining it as a clue. So he comes up for air, and there's 2 men talking in the building above, coming out of the office part of it, say, that he didn't search. Or let's say they walk into the building and they're talking about something, and what they're talking about sounds like they're discussing some kind of secret plan that they're enacting or that they're part of. Some kind of conspiracy type situation is going on. And you know, if we were going to carry this on and play through the whole game, then we could ask the Oracle about what they looked like and what they were doing and talking about, stuff like that. But based on the rules of the game, we can't actually add a clue. We can't gain a clue in this scene because we messed up our chance at the acquire stage. So those 2 guys talking, they can't turn into a clue within the game rules, unfortunately. So we're going to have to escape. So if a threat is present, well, we didn't have to add a threat, so they don't count as a threat, okay? So if a threat is present after completing the acquire stage, you must also complete the escape stage to finish the investigate scene. If the fatigue track is filled during an investigate scene, resolve it. Well, it's not filled. Then introduce a threat if no threat is present and skip to the escape stage. Okay, we don't have to introduce a threat because we've only got 2 out of 5 fatigue boxes ticked. Okay, so we can just escape then, I think. The escape stage, is that listed here? I think we just go. Although no, I think you do have to do a check to escape, because you have to do a check at every stage. Okay. Oh no, sorry. I literally just read this and it says the opposite. If a threat is present after completing the acquire stage, you must also complete the escape stage. But there's no threat to escape from. So let's say those 2 guys leave and walk away down the pier without noticing him, and he climbs out of the water and wrings out his wet clothes and heads home for the evening. So that is another turn used up. And then let's get to the end of the day. He's already found peace. Well, no, he hasn't found peace. He's already worked towards his obligation of finding peace today. So that's ticked. We don't need to do another obligation scene. So we could do a rest scene. So we'll just check what you actually do. And then we'll have played the first day of the investigation. Okay. So when you choose to rest, your investigator finds a place to unwind. So how do you play a rest scene? Roll 1d6 and unmark that many boxes from the fatigue track. Okay, so he goes home. He, lies down on his sofa. He pours out a glass of Jack Daniels for himself. And let's see. Oh, yeah, all of his fatigue is cured through the magic of drinking alcohol. So that is good. And then, remove any strikes from your attributes. What does that mean? Is it this? Your obligation? That's your obligations. Then narrate how your investigator rests and discard 1 card from the clue deck. Okay, so, yeah. So this gets discarded. So he lies on the sofa, drinks his whiskey, has another smoke, and then goes to bed for the night. And that uses up the last turn of the day. And that is the end of day 1 of his investigation. So, yeah, we found out on day 1 that there was some kind of secret government experiment done during the war, probably related to the war and maybe trying to increase the Allies' chances of winning the war. We know that. His motivation was to reveal an important official made a mistake. So that is somehow related to the government experiment. And I guess he doesn't know it's related yet. But if we carried on finding more clues, we would eventually make a connection between this motivation and the weird government experiment that's going on. It's more complicated to play than I thought it would be. And it's a really interesting way of making up a story, basically, because you could thinking about it, you could do this, right? You could play a game of Caught in the Rain, and then you could write an adventure for your favorite RPG based on that, basically, couldn't you? Based on what you've just played through that story, whether you did it as a fantasy one, which is one of the genres, or if you did it as like a gothic horror one, if you were playing Call of Cthulhu or something with your friends, you could maybe, there's a lot of kind of floating grimoire, shifting structures, indescribable horror. I think this would be quite a fun, gothic horror one would be quite a fun one to do, because you could play as a kind of 19th century nobleman or something, who's investigating something in a mansion at the edge of a peninsula of land in the West Country of England, in Victorian times or something. And I think that would probably be really fun to do. And then there's sci-fi, so that's interesting. I wonder if you could play this as a sci-fi character who has a spaceship and they fly around in their ship and go to different planets. There's nothing to stop you doing that, is there? If you've got a car, and you're playing it in the real world, in the modern day, or in the 40s like I have, you can drive the car around the country and go to different cities. If you're playing it in the sci-fi setting, it could be anything you want. So you could have your own spaceship or something, or you could even play it as, say, the captain of a ship like the Enterprise from Star Trek, and the investigation you're doing with your crew alongside you, maybe, who don't actually like do anything mechanically in the rules, but can help you out by the use of keywords. Maybe that would be an interesting way to play it as well. So yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I think it's not my kind of solo RPG. I think I prefer having mechanical combat and looting dungeons and fighting people, that kind of thing. Maybe a bit of like trading as well, playing games like Traveller Solo and things like that. But yeah, I think it's a great idea for a game. It's a great, like, this Cluedo style card system is a really good way of doing clues and things. And it's like, I think it's the kind of game where as you reveal each of the clues, you'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense when you're rolling on the oracles, like how we rolled aquatic on that oracle table when we were on the pier in that building with the sea right there. I mean, it made sense. That was telling us the clue is right there in the water that we can see. So you get these really nice sort of little random coincidences that you work into the story. So yeah, I will have a link to the Kickstarter page for this in the video description if you want to go and check it out. And yeah, I recommend, if you like this kind of game, this is a good one, and I think it would definitely be worth getting. So yeah, again, thanks to Ravensridge Emporium for sending this over to me. It came all the way from Australia and survived the trip. So yeah, and like I said earlier as well, now that I've got this, I've got all of these tables that I can roll on, and maybe when I'm playing a fantasy hex crawl campaign in something like Dungeon Crawl Classics or Basic Fantasy or Old School Essentials, you could just look, you've got fantasy tables on here, you just look up something in that, or like the motivation table can be used for anyone, whether they're a medieval peasant or a cyborg in a future metropolis. So yeah, I think it's worth it if you like this kind of game. I'm probably not going to finish my investigation, to be honest, just because of the amount of free time I have and how I want to spend it with solo RPGs. But yeah, Caught in the Rain, I recommend it. So thanks for watching. Give us a like and a subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you in the next video.